Have you ever stood at the edge of something broken, hoping it would somehow fix itself if you stared long enough? Perhaps it was a relationship that kept splintering, a dream that wouldn't carry your weight, a plan the river of time kept washing away. We returned to the same spot, rehearsing the same promises, measuring the same gaps, telling ourselves that tomorrow the boards will hold. But what if the courage you need is not the strength to repair the old path, but the gentleness to release it? Stay till the end, and you'll hear how one man learned that letting go is not loss. It is the first step toward a truer way forward. In a quiet riverside village, there stood an old wooden bridge that once connected two halves of the town. Years ago, a great storm came, tearing it apart, leaving only broken planks swaying above the current. Every morning since that day, an old man named Elias would walk to the riverbank, carrying his worn-out hammer and rope. He would spend hours trying to fix the bridge, nailing, tying, patching the pieces together, only for the water to undo it all by nightfall. The villagers had long stopped crossing there. They built another bridge downstream, wider and stronger. But Elias refused to move on. For him, that broken bridge wasn't just wood and rope. It was memory. It was where he used to walk with his son, where laughter once echoed before the storm took everything away. People would whisper, "He's trapped in yesterday," and maybe they were right. Because for Elias, repairing the bridge felt like repairing time itself, hoping that if he could mend the past, he might cross over to it once more. One gray morning, as the mist curled over the river, Elias was once again at work, hammering the last splintered plank. His hands trembled with age, yet his eyes still held that stubborn spark of hope. Then a voice came from behind him, soft, calm, almost blending with the wind. "Why do you rebuild what the river wants to forget?" Elias turned and saw a traveler resting beside the willow tree. The man was dressed in simple clothes, his face weathered by journeys, but his eyes were clear, like someone who had crossed many bridges and left many behind. "This bridge connected my life," Elias replied. "I cannot move on until it stands again." The traveler smiled gently. "Perhaps that's why it keeps falling apart. Some bridges are not meant to be crossed twice." Elias frowned, uneasy at the words. "You speak as if forgetting were easy." "Not forgetting," the traveler said, watching the river flow. "Accepting. When a bridge breaks, it is not a punishment. It is an invitation to find a new path." The words lingered in the air, unsettling yet true. Elias said nothing. He only looked at the fragments of wood beneath his feet, suddenly unsure if he was building a bridge or guarding a ghost. That night, the traveler's words would not leave Elias's mind. Yet when dawn came, he returned to the river as he had always done. Habit is a stubborn comfort. He told himself that if he worked harder, if he just found the right pieces, he could prove that nothing was truly lost. Day after day, he tried again. He gathered fallen branches, tied them with rope, nailed them into the old beams. Each effort seemed promising at first, until the current took hold and tore everything apart again. The sound of wood cracking echoed through the valley like a cruel reminder. Villagers watched from afar, pity in their eyes. Children whispered, "He's building a bridge to nowhere." But Elias refused to hear. Every blow of his hammer was a heartbeat of defiance. He wasn't fixing a bridge anymore. He was fighting the truth. Then came another storm. The sky broke open, and the river swelled with rage. Elias ran to the bridge, shouting against the wind, gripping the railing as if he could hold back the flood. But nature had already decided. The final remnants of the bridge gave way, collapsing into the dark, swirling water below. He fell to his knees, soaked and trembling, staring into the emptiness where the bridge once stood. The river roared, merciless and alive. And for the first time, Elias realized that the storm wasn't his enemy. It was his teacher. The traveler's voice returned in his mind, quiet but unshakable. Maybe you were never meant to cross it again. Elias closed his eyes and let the rain fall. For the first time in years, he didn't pick up the hammer. When the river finally calmed, Elias returned to its edge. The air was still. The broken planks carried far downstream. For the first time, there was nothing left to fix, only silence and the soft rhythm of water against stone. He stood there for a long time, feeling the weight of what he had lost and what he had been refusing to see. He remembered the traveler's words, "When a bridge breaks, it's an invitation to find a new path." At that moment, the meaning unfolded like sunlight through clouds. The bridge was never about wood and rope. It was about the past he refused to release. He had spent years trying to rebuild what time had already carried away, blind to the truth that life doesn't ask us to restore what's gone, but to grow from it. He walked along the riverbank that day, further than he had ever gone before. The earth was unfamiliar, but peaceful. There, hidden behind the reeds, was a shallow crossing, a place where the stones formed a natural path to the other side. He smiled faintly, realizing that the river had always offered him another way forward. He had just been too busy looking backward to see it. As he stepped across, his reflection rippled beneath him, no longer haunted by the shadow of the old bridge. He whispered to the wind, "Letting go is not about forgetting. It's about accepting that the story has already given me what it was meant to." The current carried his words away, not as loss, but as release. Weeks passed, and the villagers noticed a quiet change in Elias. He no longer stood by the river with his hammer and rope. Instead, he was seen walking through the fields at sunrise, greeting the day with a calm smile. The grief that once bent his shoulders now rested like a gentle memory rather than a wound. Sometimes, he would visit the place where the bridge once stood. The river flowed freely there now, reflecting the sky like a mirror. No traces of the old beams remained. Only wildflowers had taken root along the banks, swaying softly in the breeze. Elias would sit beneath the willow and watch the water. He no longer saw loss, he saw movement. The river had not destroyed his bridge, it had carried him forward. In time, others came to him for advice. When they spoke of regrets and broken things, he would say, "The river doesn't ask the bridge to stand again. It teaches it to let go, so that life can keep flowing." And each evening, as the sun melted into gold over the horizon, he would whisper to himself, "Not every bridge is meant to be rebuilt. Some are meant to remind us that it's time to move on." The sound of the river answered him, steady and eternal, like peace itself. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who might still be standing on their own broken bridge. Someone who needs to hear that letting go is not losing, but beginning again. Every end hides a quiet beginning, waiting for us to notice it. And sometimes, all it takes to move forward is the courage to stop repairing what was and to start walking toward what can be. If you found peace or hope in this story, leave a comment below and tell us what bridge you finally let go of. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Inspire Through Stories for more tales that remind us to release, rebuild, and rise.